A temporary visitor. Hey, Sprinkles. Do you want to say hello to everyone? Do you want to say hello? Say hello. 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 Hi. Hello. So, whatever she said, in her cat language, she said hi. And we're gonna do another round of, again, I guess I'm still calling it random rant. Maybe um, I'll work on it tomorrow. I mean, hopefully. Tomorrow is Friday, so I'm super excited about that. And I'm sure, like, you probably are too. Who wouldn't? Weekend are always the best part of the week, right? But oh, I don't know. I'm super excited, especially for the next weekend because I'm I'm volunteering for a comedy fest, so it will be super dope. I'm sure there are going to be like a lot of comics flying in from different parts of the country, or maybe even world. And volunteering would be ideal because then I can not only uh, network, so to speak, but also enjoy the act and performances of all of these comedians. I'll tell you one thing, like the best thing happened, or one of the best things that happened in my life is comedy because I can't imagine how my life would have been if I haven't started doing stand up comedy. And on top of that, like even if I'm having the worst performance ever, just going and watching other comics do well itself is sort of enjoyment, like sort of like a stress relief. So uh, I can tell you one thing, like I'm taking every opportunity to smile, laugh, or live a little bit, and that's one of the reasons why I got my foster cat as well, because just having her make me just chuckle once in a while, and especially if I'm having like a stressful day, just looking at her, whatever cute antics she does, kind of make me smile, and uh, having more of those smiling or laughing moments in life makes life more rich for me. So I hope everyone find whatever triggers or click with them, and continue to do that and find all the happiness you could, because between life and death, we have very little time, and this little time is fungible. So we never ever gonna get these moments. So I mean, I'm not saying to be to kind of like turn into some sort of like enlightened being, which is easier said than done, obviously. And on top of that, it's in the world we are living in, that's very difficult, because the way I categorize enlightenment is paying complete attention to the present moment. When you do that, you're enlightened for a moment, and when you continue to do that, yeah, for every moment to moment, then you become an enlightened person, I guess, or that's the way at least I understand enlightenment. And it's not easy. I mean, have you tried meditating recently? How difficult just sitting or even lying down on the bed and focusing on one particular thing. It does sounds challenging, but honestly, like anything we do in life, once we keep doing it, once we repeat it, we become better at it. So meditation needs practice, like any other skill set. And without any overdue, we're gonna switch to the random article of the day, which is about WOGL. It seems like an FM, yeah, 98.1 FM is a commercial radio station licensed to serve Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. The station is owned by Odyssey, Incorporation and broadcast a classic hits radio format. The broadcast tower used by the station is located in the Roxborough section of the city. I mean, who is specifying the actual GPS coordination? Okay. The station studio and offices are co-located with Audacy's corporate headquarters in Center City, Philly. So, why is it called WOGL? There gotta be some history behind that. Hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, prior to 2018, the station played Christmas music during the holiday season. Well, that's all right. This practice was discontinued after WBEB, which also broadcast Christmas music. But why is it called WOGL? Early years. On January 13th, 1942, the Federal Communications Commissions granted the William Penn Broadcasting Company a construction permit for a new FM station on 47.3 megahertz on the original 42 to 50 megahertz FM broadcast band with the call sign W73PH. So PH is Philly, 73 might be, I don't know, yeah, 47.3. So maybe that's what 73 here kind of means. I don't know what W still correspond to. Oh, it could be William Penn. Let's see. Beginning the next month, the station was issued a series of special authorizations, I wonder how and why, to operate commercially with a temporary antenna, followed by its first full license on March 2nd, 1943. William Penn Broadcasting also operated AM station. WPEN, okay. Now WKDN. What's with W's? So W73PH, which is pretty much this, right? Was assigned the WPEN-FM call sign. Oh, is that what 73? No. After the FCC created the current FM broadcast ban on June 27, 1945, William Penn Broadcasting applied to the FCC for a construction permit on. Didn't we just didn't he just said that like somewhere up here? Okay, whatever. On January 21st, 1946. So on January 13th, they granted them permit, and on January 21st, 1946, okay, to FCC for a construction permit on January 1946 to install a new transmitter and antenna for operation on 99.5 megahertz. I should have read the entire sentence. I am trying to decrypt what does all of this mean, and without even like reading the entire sentence. That's not good. The station's license and construction permit were voluntarily assigned to Philadelphia Record Company, owners of AM station in Philly. On November 28th, 1947, this was effective. Too many dates. I'm just gonna skip all of that. Switched to oldies, then disco, so that's the genre or the format they played at the time. Then hot hits, 98 to 98 now, and return to oldies. Okay, jingles too. Let's see how talk radio works. Talk radio is a radio format containing discussion about topical issues and consisting entirely or almost entirely of original spoken word content rather than outside music. Most shows are regularly hosted by a single individual and then feature interviews with several different guests. Talk radio typically includes an element of listener participation, usually by broadcasting live conversations between the host and listeners who call in, usually via telephone, to the show. Listener contributions are usually screened by a show's producer to maximize audience interest and, in the case of commercial radio talk, to attract advertisers. Generally, the shows are organized into segments, each separated by a pause for advertisements. However, in public or non commercial radio, music is sometimes played in place of commercials to separate the program segments. Variations of talk radio include conservative talk, hot talk, liberal talk, increasingly known as progressive talk, and sports talk. What is hot talk? Maybe cultural? Um, I believe so. This one is pointing back to the same page. Wow. So it's in a loop. All right. So while talk radio has historically been associated with broadcast radio, starting around 2005, the technology for internet-based talk radio shows became cost-effective in the form of live internet website streaming and podcasts. Now, an individual can use a variety of services to host an internet based talk radio show, mind you, without carriage by a traditional radio station. Also, TV programming from talk and news outlets such as BBC, CNN, Bloomberg, and Fox is now often available, expanding the world of talk radio further. Talk radio listening is enjoyed not only on radios but a wide variety of other devices and services, including PCs using iTunes. Wait, what? Why would anyone write all of that? Is that like necessary? Like PCs using iTunes, directories such as TuneIn, show directory smartphones with apps such as Stitcher, and time shifting services like dar.fm. SW Radio Africa was a pro democracy station that broadcast out of London, England from 2001 to 2014. Yeah, I bet like every country probably have their own version of, you know, talk radio. I'm kind of curious to see. Okay, the United States. So United States. I wouldn't be surprised if the talk radio sort of um, invented, so to speak, in US, like the whole segment of broadcasting. Okay, talk radio is most popular on the AM band, non-commercial, usually referred to a public radio, which is mainly located in a reserved spectrum of the FM band. Also broadcast talk programs. Commercial all talk stations can also be found on the FM band in many cities across the US. These shows often rely less on political discussion and analysis than their AM counterparts and often employ the use of pranks and bits for entertainment purposes. In the United States and Canada, satellite radio services offer uncensored, freewheeling original programming. ABC News and Talk is an example of repackaging for the digital airwaves shows featured on their terrestrial radio stations. The history of the talk show is expressing and debating political opinions has been a staple of radio since the medium's infancy. Amy Simple McPherson began her radio broadcast in the early 1920s and even purchased her station. KFSG, which went on the air in February 1924 by the mid 1930s. Controversial radio priest Father Charles Colin radio broadcasts were reaching millions per week. Why is this dude controversial? So this dude, commonly known as Father Colin, or the radio priest, was a Canadian American Roman Catholic priest who was based in the United States near Detroit. He was the founding priest of the National Shrine of the Little Flower Church. That name kind of sounds creepy, Little Flower. I'm sure. I'm not sure of anything. Why should I? Why should I malign Mr. Charles? But he was controversial, so I'm sure like he must have incited some crazy ideas. All right, so there was also a national current events forum called America's Town Meeting of the Air, which broadcast once a week starting in 1935. Wow. It featured panel discussion from some of the biggest newsmakers and was among the first shows to allow audience participation. Members of the studio audience could question the guest or even heckle them. Heckle them. I mean, if they could heckle them, then is that a heckle? I thought heckling means, you're not welcome to heckle. If someone is interrupting, only then it's heckling. Otherwise, I don't think it's heckle. Or maybe I'm completely wrong. Let's Google it. See? Interrupt. Members of the studio could question and even heckle. So, never mind. I mean, the point I was making was like, if they were allowed to heckle, then it's no longer a heckle. It's just a question, or maybe like some random weirdo just screaming for no reason. Either way, talk radio as a listener participation format has existed since the 1930s. John J. Anthony was an announcer and DJ on New York's WMRJ. It was located in the Merrick radio store at 12 New York Boulevard in Jamaica, Long Island. After some marital troubles refusing to pay alimony and child support, he sought professional help and began his radio series where listeners would call in with their problems in 1930. Radio historians consider this the first instance of talk show or talk radio. I mean, I like the idea of maybe having a conversation with random people. I do that almost every day to different degrees, but just having one-on-one conversation on maybe like platform like this would be great. Could be insightful, or could be even time waste of time. Who knows? Depending on who I'm talking to and where the conversation is going, I guess. But I can see why these people, such as Amy and Mr. John, they gravitated towards talk radio and created their own path to a certain degree. That's one of the things I love about the current era we are living in as well, because I think everyone has some ideas to share with the world, and sure, some of those ideas maybe like unbaked or coming from maybe like a wrong angle because of the inbuilt biases or whatever, or because of lack of understanding. But at the same time, some of these ideas would be insightful. They kind of shed light on their personal experiences and kind of show the raw vulnerability of individuals. So either way, I feel that having a opportunity to kind of express themselves using any of the platforms we have accessible today is one of the best thing which could happen to humanity. And I'm super glad that I'm living in this timeline. The painful part of that is everyone gotta figure out, everyone have to learn how to separate the sound from the noise. They would have to figure out how they can filter off the noise, so that they can listen to more valuable information or content. And uh, that's one of the challenging thing I personally have as well, because I feel that I'm not experienced in one sector or the other to be able to kind of like talk about that as a master of that art form or project or whatever. So I feel imposter in doing so, and that's why I try to kind of like just echo the good points raised by other people. So meaning, I listen to a ton of different podcasts and try to absorb as much wisdom as a guest offer, and then try to kind of apply that in my own life. Uh, so most of the things which I'm doing are sort of influenced or inspired by someone else. And that would be true for everyone, for everything as well, because we humans are sort of like a copy machine. We like to mimic others. When we were children or kids, we used to mimic our parents and our family, and that uh, sort of created the persona or the personality we wear today. And once we change our environment, we could start seeing the changes within us as well. So it goes back to the set and setting uh, topic, I guess. So in in life, in order to accomplish anything, any goal, no matter how big or small goal that is, we need to have a good mindset, a right mindset rather, and the mindset which will help us to dive deeper, or move forward towards that goal. And the other part is to have a good setting, meaning the people you surround with, and the ambience you create, I guess. So all of that is setting. So the set and the setting both helps together to kind of give a direction, um, to where you want to be. I guess if that makes sense. It makes sense in my pothead mind, but the bigger point I was touching on is that every single person has some value, some insight to share with the world. It's another thing if the world need that, meaning you might share your a part of your life which could be very mundane and experienced by everyone, right? Um, I digress. So the, but the point being that when we actively share our ideas with the world, that gives us a window to kind of look back and see the holes within our ideas. Uh, Especially when you are having a conversation with set of people or audience, so to speak. And I'm not there yet, so I'm still sort of trapped in my lone echo chamber. But I don't mind to just keep on doing this, because I know at some point there would be an engagement with other people, and that will help me to grow, and grow this, whatever this is, just maybe live streaming every day, or maybe just trying to learn something new, but without setting uh, any any topic in mind, just randomly building from there. So uh, th- whatever this is I'm trying to do, I have a feeling that if I keep on doing this for a year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, I'm gonna get better at this. And maybe like 5 years from now, when I listen back, if I listen back to this very particular recording, then I would realize that how much I need to grow to become, say, more professional, or be more comfortable, or even pick up the right way to express an idea, right? So all of these comes together when we practice. So this is more or less like a practice. And thanks for sharing. I won't even say sharing, but yeah, just thanks for entertaining me, I guess, entertaining my thoughts. So we are talking about the talk radio, and I am curious about podcast, because this is a sort of like a subculture, right? And it grew in the past couple decades, and right now podcasting is one of the best tool anyone can use to, again, express their thoughts and reach out to more people and create your own tribe. And maybe that's one of my subconscious goal, to kind of create or build a tribe around the values I share, and and leave something positive, I guess, when I'm cold dead. All right, so now let's get back to the brighter topic, which is a podcast. A podcast is an episodic series of digital audio files that a user can download to a personal device to listen to at a time of their choosing. Streaming applications and podcasting services provide a convenient and integrated way to manage a personal consumption queue across many podcast sources and playback devices. There also exist podcast search engines which help users find and share podcast episodes. All right. Uh, Production. A podcast generator maintains a central list of the files on a server as a web feed that one can access through the internet. The listener or viewer uses special client application software on a computer or media player known as a podcast client, which accesses this web feed, checks it for updates, and downloads any new files in the series. This process can be automated to download new files automatically. Seriously? Okay. This process can be automated to download new files automatically. So it may seem to listeners as though podcasters broadcast or push new episodes to them. Podcast files can be stored locally on the user's device or streamed directly. There are several different mobile applications that allow people to follow and listen to podcasts. Many of these applications allow users to download podcasts or stream them on demand. Most podcast players or applications allow listeners to skip around the podcast and control the playback speed, which is actually divine. Because honestly, I don't blame any of the podcasters, but a lot of good podcasts, they have like 3 to 4 minutes of ad, and if I cannot just fast forward or skip that, then I would have to be painfully listening to all of that, which was the only option back in the day with the actual talk radio. You can't, you can change the channel, but you can't like skip the advertisement. But at least in podcasting, you do. Podcasting has been considered a converged medium. Technological convergence, also known as digital convergence, is a tendency for technology that were originally unrelated to become more closely integrated and even unified as they develop and advanced. For example, watches, telephones, television, computers, and social media platforms. So they're saying that the tendency for technology that were originally unrelated to become more closely integrated and even unified. Okay. So podcasting has been considered a converged medium, a medium that brings together audio, the web, and portable media players, as well as a disruptive technology that has caused some individuals in radio broadcasting to reconsider established practices and preconception about audiences, consumption, production, and distribution. This is the best part of podcast, that it disrupted the gatekeepers of the broadcasting industry, which were all of those radio channels, and this prevented a lot of people to even try to reach out to more people, because say maybe someone like me too, like back when I was a teenager or even in my early 20s, I didn't even consider doing more like live streaming or any of these things. I mean, looking back, wish I did, because I could have a doc. I wouldn't say the documents per se, but a collection of my thoughts. From 10 years back, and I could maybe like see what kind of person I was to a degree, because every single thing we are recording, we are sort of like capturing this time, and we can revisit this anytime and relive to a certain degree of the experiences we are going through, and that's why photographs and videos are sort of center or core of our civilization at the moment. And what's the definition of disruptive technology? In business theory, disruptive innovation is innovation that creates a new market and value network, or enters at the bottom of an existing market and eventually displaces established market-leading firms, products, and alliances. Yep, podcast is one of them. So podcasts can be produced at little to no cost and are usually disseminated free of charge, which sets this medium apart from the traditional 20th century model of gate-kept media and their production tools. Podcasters can, however, still monetize their podcasts by allowing companies to purchase ad time. They can also garner support from listeners through crowdfunding websites like Patreon, which provides special extras and content to listeners for a fee. All right, etymology. Podcast is a portmanteau, a combination of iPod and broadcast. So when we combine two words or blend of words in which part of multiple words are combined into a new word, and this is called portmanteau. I wish there was some way to kind of like break this into two words too. As in smog, coined by blending smoke and fog, or motel from motor and hotel. In linguistics, a portmanteau is a single morph that is analyzed as representing two underlying whatever. So, podcast is a combination of iPod and broadcast. And what is pod in iPod? Portable media player and multipurpose? No, pod. What is the POD? Maybe. Alright. Was suggested by the Guardian columnist and BBC journalist Ben Hammersley. Alright, Mr. Ben, thanks for suggesting that. Who invented it in early February 2004 while writing an article for the Guardian newspaper. The term was first used in the audio blogging community in September 2004 when Danny Gregor introduced it in a message to the Potter Dev mailing list, from where it was adopted by podcaster Adam Curry. Despite the etymology, the content can be accessed using any computer or similar device that can play media files. Use of the term podcast predates Apple's addition of support for podcasting to the iPod or its iTunes software. Some sources have suggested the backronym Portable on Demand for pod to avoid the loose reference to the iPod. Backronym. That's an interesting word. A backronym is an acronym. Wait, what? Okay. A backronym is an acronym formed from an already existing word. Backronyms may be invented with either serious or humorous intent, or they may be a type of late etymology or folk etymology. The word is a blend of back and acronym. Alright, the verb subscribe has often been used to denote the process of receiving podcasts. By 2021, as the term could be insinuated as to suggest that receiving a podcast required a paid subscription, Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, and Stitcher had shifted to using the verb follow to align themselves with terminology commonly used as social networking services. A social networking services, or SNS, is an online platform which people use to build social networks or social relationships with other people who share similar personal or career content, interests, activities, background, or real-life connections. Cool. So, what's the history of podcast? In October 2000, the concept of attaching sound and video files in RSS feeds was proposed in a track by Tristan Lewis. The idea was implemented by Dave Winer, a software developer and an author of the RSS format. Podcasting, once an obscure method of spreading audio information, has become a recognized medium for distributing audio content, whether the corporate or personal use. Podcasts are similar to radio programs in form, but they exist as audio files that can be played at a listener's convenience anytime and anywhere. Okay, let's jump right into the technical part of it. IP issues in trademark and patent law. Trademark applications. Between February 10th and 25th March 2005, Shea Spencer Management filed a trademark application to register the term. They're talking about the term podcast. Okay. I really don't care about that. Types of podcast. Enhanced podcasts and enhanced podcast, also known as a slidecast, is a type of podcast that combines audio with a slideshow presentation. It is similar to a video podcast in that it combines dynamically generated imagery with audio synchronization, but it is different in that it uses presentation software to create the imagery and the sequence of display separately from the time of the original audio. Podcast recording. The free dictionary. Enhanced podcasts are podcasts that incorporate graphics and chapters. iTunes developed an enhanced podcast feature called audio hyperlinking, and they patented in 2012. Enhanced podcasts can be used by businesses or in education. Enhanced podcasts can be created using QuickTime, ACC, or Windows media files. Enhanced podcasts were first used in 2006. Okay. Fiction podcast. A fiction podcast, also referred to as a scripted podcast or a narrative podcast, is similar to a radio drama, but in podcast form. Wow. They deliver a fictional story, usually told over multiple episodes and seasons, using multiple voice actors, dialogues, sound effects, and music to enrich the story. Fiction podcasts have attached a number of well known actors as voice talents, including Demi Moore and Matthew McConaughey, as well as from content producers like Netflix, Spotify, Marvel, and DC Comics. While science fiction and horror are quite popular, podcasts cover a full range of literary genre from romance, comedy, and drama to fantasy, sci-fi, and detective fiction. Examples of fiction podcasts include The Bright Seasons, Homecoming, Wooden Overcoats, and Wolverine, The Long Night. Podcast novels, I believe it's like just a novel, but how would they, do they read novel? Let's see. A podcast novel, also known as a serialized audiobook or podcast audiobook, is a literary form that combines the concept of a podcast and an audiobook. Like a traditional novel, a podcast novel is a work of literary fiction. However, it is recorded into episodes that are delivered online over a period of time. The episodes may be delivered automatically via RSS or through a website, blog, or other syndication method. Episodes can be released on a regular schedule, once a week, or irregular as each show. Video podcast. A video podcast is a podcast that contains video content. Wow. Web television series are often distributed as video podcasts. Dead End Days, a serialized dark comedy about zombies released from 31st October 2003 through 2004, is commonly believed to be first video podcast. Live podcast. A number of podcasts are recorded either in total or for specific episodes in front of a live audience. Ticket sales allow the podcasters an additional way of monetizing. Some podcasts create specific live show to tour, which are not necessarily included on the podcast feed. Events including the London Podcast Festival, SF Sketchfest, and other regularly give a platform for podcasters to perform live to audience. List of podcast client. Let's check that out. Wait, what is webcast? A webcast is a media presenting distributed over the internet using streaming media technology to distribute a single content source to many simultaneous listeners or viewers. A webcast may either be distributed live or on demand. Essentially, webcasting is broadcasting. Okay. List of podcast clients. A podcast client or podcatcher is a computer program used to stream. All right. So obviously there are a ton. I've used Apple Podcast. Did I? Yeah, I do use Apple Podcasts. Just on my iWatch. And there are like a couple of other which kind of make sense. Spotify, Stitcher, I've heard about these too. Yeah, but these are kind of nice. But what is GP? Licenses. There is a GPL. The GNU General Public License is a series of widely used free software licenses that guarantee end users the full freedom to run, study, share, and modify the software. Okay, so that's the so anyone can like open. Yeah, that's why it's open source. So anyone can like edit it or something. This means MIT is for Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Okay, usually where RSS or XML field. Why is XML field? Okay, I want to dive into the RSS. For Hindu organizations, see Rashtriya Swayamseva Sangh. No. So RSS Rdf, which is Resource Description Framework, is a worldwide web consortium standard originally designed as a data model for metadata. It has come to be used as a general method for description and exchange of graph data. Okay. RSS is a web feed that allows users and applications to access updates to websites in a standardized, computer readable format. Subscribing to RSS feeds can allow a user to keep track of many different websites in a single news aggregator, which constantly monitors sites for new content, removing the need for the user to manually check them. News aggregators or RSS readers can be built into a browser, installed on a desktop computer, or installed on a mobile device. Websites usually use RSS feeds to publish frequently updated information such as blog entries, news headlines, episodes of audio and video series, or for distributing podcasts. An RSS document called feed, web feed, or channel includes full or summarized text and metadata, like publishing date and author's name. RSS formats are specified using a generic XML file. Although RSS formats have evolved from as early as March 99, it was between 2000 and 2006 when RSS gained widespread use, and the symbol was decided upon by several major web browsers. RSS feed data is presented to users using software called a news aggregator, and the passing of content is called web syndication. Users subscribe to feeds either by entering a feed's URL into the reader, or by clicking on the browser's feed icon. The RSS reader checks the user's feeds regularly for new information and can be automatically downloaded if that function is enabled. A URI, which is a Uniform Resource Identifier, is a unique sequence of characters that identifies a logical or physical resource used by web technologies. URIs may be used to identify anything, including real-world objects such as people and places, concepts of or information resources such as web pages and books. What is web syndication? A web syndication is a form of syndication in which content is made available from one website to other websites. Most commonly, websites are made available to provide either summaries or full rendition of a website's recently added content. The term may also describe other kinds of content licensing. This is all interesting, but we are coming up to close to the 1 hour mark, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Do I want to go to any other article before I wrap this up? Yeah, this was another insightful session, or I don't even know, just random rant, I guess. But I kind of like this format. Just going from random article to random article, and see how how everything sort of connects, to some of the topic. You know what I mean? Like if I have a specific goal in mind, let's just say if I want to get to a specific um, topic using Wikipedia, I can find the article and selectively click on a link which could take me towards that goal, towards that topic I want to go. But the way I want to do this is more natural flow, meaning wherever the topics takes me or my thoughts takes me, and I'm gonna keep doing this, and hopefully I get better at it, better enough to not only absorb the information quickly, but also to be able to convey it in a simplified. I mean, I won't say Wikipedia is not simplified enough, but at least maybe tie it up to some sort of like a real world scenarios, so that it makes sense in my head, not hand, in my head, as well as makes sense to people who want to digest some of these concepts in a more entertaining slash unique way, I guess. But until we do that, we are on this journey. You and I, we both are on this ride, and I'm gonna be upfront and let you know I'm gonna screw plenty of times during this ride. So appreciate if you can bear with me, and until next time.